Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Tuesday on this channel where we talk about all things horror, and today we've got to talk about the latest update for the television show Crystal Lake that will be the continuing saga of the Voorhees family and possibly how the new news that has come out could change the show. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so some news has come out that I'm really excited for. As you know, on this channel, every Tuesday I talk about horror. That's because I truly love horror, but I also love sci-fi and fantasy and all other things in the fandom. I'm kind of that person that just loves movies in general. But when it comes to some of the horror films that we get to talk about on this channel, there are some that I absolutely love and adore. And it's because they're part of my early childhood. One of these things is, in fact, Friday the 13th. And with the Crystal Lake series being on again, off again, on again, off again, and all of that, it has become kind of a will it, won't it situation. And then we got news that they are still going ahead. The A24 is still going ahead with this project, and they just had to get a new showrunner. Well, today the news finally dropped. Today we have that new showrunner. And that new showrunner comes in the form of Brad Caleb Kane. Now, if you don't know who Brad Caleb Kane is, he has an IMDb page that is extraordinary. And the reason it's extraordinary is that he has been a little bit of everything. He has been both an actor and a director and a writer, and it shows. More recent years, he's kind of stepped into the role of producer a lot more than he has an actor or a writer, but he is also one of the people responsible for the singing voice of Aladdin. He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He is one of those actors that has been around for a long time, and he is making a name for himself as a producer. And the reason I'm excited about this is he seems to have a grasp on what the Friday the 13th franchise needs. At least that's what the people that are running it think, so I trust their opinion. And being that I have looked at his IMDb page, I do have to say I am rather impressed with what I've seen in terms of what he has produced. It's all different sorts of variety of things. So this news has come out that he is now our showrunner of the new Friday the 13th Crystal Lake series. And that's pretty cool. Now this news comes to us from several different reliable sources at this point. So actually, I'm going to take a look at the Deadline article. It says Crystal Lake, Peacock's upcoming Friday the 13th prequel series from Studio A24, has found a new showrunner, Brad Caleb Kane, who also, by the way, one of his latest projects he's producing is, in fact, Welcome to Derry. So yay on that, because that tells us he has his hands in some other horror related stuff. So this isn't someone they've just kind of gotten and they're running with it. So the article says, in addition to showrunning, Kane will serve as the series' creator, writer, and executive producer. He assumes the reins from Bryan Fuller, who did Star Trek Discovery and Hannibal, who was also a very good choice for this, by the way. He's going to be missed, but I look at it in terms of if things weren't working out with one, we go into what actually works. So we get another person in there who can take over, who has a grasp on the project, at least in terms of what they think, and then we go from there and hope that it's really good. And the article goes on to talk about how Bryan Fuller exited from the project in May, noting that A24 has elected to go with a different way with the material. Then it goes on to say, first announced in October of 2022, Crystal Lake's plot specifics are being kept under wraps. In addition to Kane, executive producers on the series include A24, Victor Meller, who wrote the screenplay for the original franchise's 1980 film, Meller's copyright attorney, Mark Tobernoff, Robert M. Barsamin, and I don't know if I said that name right, and Robert P. Barsamin. The project will mark A24's first major IP-driven project amid a recent effort to expand in a more commercial direction. Now, this is the part that kind of gets me excited about this new showrunner, and it's because he's excited about the project. This is what he had to say in that article. From the moment I watched Jason Voorhees squeeze a guy's eyeball out of its socket in glorious 3D at the tender age of 8 years old, I knew my creative path was someday destined to converge with the man behind the mask, said Kane in a statement on his Crystal Lake hiring. Nothing defined my childhood more than growing up in the golden age of the slasher flick, and nothing's defined the genre more than Friday the 13th. I couldn't be more excited for the opportunity to contribute a chapter to this iconic franchise, particularly with such fearless partners as Peacock and A24. The article goes on to talk about the amount of films we've had in the Friday the 13th franchise and how they are sort of iconic. Then kind of goes into the Friday the 13th series, which wasn't actually about Jason Voorhees, and talks a little bit about the reboot and comic books and other such things. Then it goes on to tell us a bit more about his qualifications for this project, saying no stranger to horror, Kane has most recently served as a co-showrunner and executive producer of It Welcome to Derry, an anticipated prequel series starring Bill Skarsgård, which expands upon the vision of Andy Muschietti's recent pair of New Line films, based on the 1986 novel by Stephen King, one of a number of series originally intended for Max that have pivoted to an HBO release. Welcome to Derry premieres in 2025. Prior to that, serving as a writer and executive producer on Max's Tokyo Vice and Cinemax's Warrior, Kane is also known for his work on shows like Moonhaven, Lodge 49, Black Cells, Fringe, and Crash. Also co-writing Netflix sci-fi thriller Extinction and contributing to the story for Apple TV Plus's The Banker. Now that excites me because it means he's done a lot of projects for the same company, and that actually does matter. When you get a director or a writer or producer that's worked with the same people over and over again, it kind of does tell you that there's a certain amount of trust there, that they trust them to do their job and to do it right. And that's important in any scenario that you have. So when they're talking about him having worked on several projects for Max and HBO, all of that makes me really excited because then I look at it a different way. Then I look at it as, if they trust him and Peacock actually trust him to do this project, then he has a good reputation. And you take someone that has a good reputation that has also worked in the genre that you're actually trying to do, then you know it's going to be at least something to look forward to. And that's kind of the thing. This project has been on again and off again, and with it being on again and off again, we've often wondered just what the final project is going to look like. With him actually being a fan of Jason Voorhees, now more than ever, I think we are looking at a scenario where Jason Voorhees could be in the final project. Jason Voorhees may actually appear in this series after all. Originally, you might remember they were saying that this was going to be a prequel. Then they said that they could use Jason in any capacity they wanted to, even making the joke that we could eventually, if it reaches season 10, see Jason in space. So that's the thing here that makes this kind of cool, is that it is going to tell the story of Pamela Voorhees. We know that much at least, but it could also incorporate Jason in a big way, especially if they are looking at a Jason Voorhees fan actually running the show. And you heard what he said his influences were. And even though the previous showrunner also loved Jason Voorhees, we know this to be true, maybe it's the way they're going to go that changes everything. This could actually become a more Jason-centric show than it was originally anticipated, with mere flashbacks telling the whole series of events of Pamela Voorhees. until we actually hear more, we really don't know where this series is going or what direction it's going to take. But knowing what we know so far, that they can use any incarnation of Jason Voorhees, and knowing they changed directions, it is a big swing towards the possibility that we could be getting a more Jason-centric show. And I am 1,000% down for that. I like the idea of going back and learning the origin of Pamela Voorhees, because all of that was always very intriguing. As a child, I remember watching the Friday the 13th franchise and wondering about Pamela Voorhees and the reason she was like she was. We learned a little bit through comics and other things that's not really canon to the series of movies. So really they could take it and change it any way they want, because other than a few mentions in books which aren't officially canon to the movies themselves, and comic books which aren't canon to the movies themselves, they could really do anything they wanted with Pamela Voorhees or her origin to tell us how she became how she is. And that's really a cool thing. So that is where I'm going to leave it to you guys. What do you guys think about this latest news update on the Friday the 13th series? Are you excited for this new showrunner? How do you think he's going to do? Do you think we're going to get a more Jason-centric story now? Or do you think that they have changed direction for other reasons? How do you think this series is going to go down? And how does this news excite you? Does it excite you more about the franchise or less? Are you really excited to see where they take this series? As always, we want to hear from you guys. Make sure you're leaving us that comment in the comment box below. Don't forget to share this video with all of your friends so they can be a part of the conversation as well. And then make sure you hit that like button. It's free, it helps the channel, and we really do appreciate it. And Miko says we need more subscribers, and look at this face. You don't want to disappoint Miko, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and while you're down there, hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss a single video we do. And then friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.